When you encounter these buzz phrases, be wary. Someone is selling you the Slowlane as a total plan to wealth. While coupons and other Slowlane strategies aren't worthless in a plan, they shouldn't be the plan. The Slowlane as a total plan is the problem, not the Slowlane being a part of a plan. This distinction is critical because financial discipline must transcend to any wealth campaign. The Slowlane Roadmap, a mathematical introduction. How is wealth created in the Slowlane? To expose its method and its weakness, you need to reverse engineer and deconstruct the strategy down to its mathematical roots, or its wealth equation. In other words, you want to expose the plan's theoretical speed limits for wealth, which is always determined by two variables: your primary income source, a job, and your wealth acceleration vehicle, market investments. These two variables formulate the Slowlane's wealth equation and governs its wealth creation power, or, in this case, futility. Wealth equals primary income source, job, plus wealth accelerator, market investments. This equation factored looks like this. Wealth equals intrinsic value plus compound interest. The primary income variable, intrinsic value, has two variables itself dependent on how you are paid within your job. It could be either intrinsic value equals hourly wage times hours worked, or intrinsic value equals yearly salary. Compound interest is derived from market investments, which is the universal concept that $X invested in the stock market today will be worth $X millions decades from now. In Chapter 12, we will examine the Slowlane's mathematical constructs and exploit their true deficiency. Therein, you'll discover why society's plan, your parents' plan, the media's plan, and the guru's plan are horrific strategies for wealth. Have you sold your soul for a weekend? Your soul is worth more than a weekend. Banality followed by blindness is the side effect of Slowlane institutionalization. In 2007, on a cold January morning, a violinist stationed himself in a Washington, D.C. train station and played 6 classical pieces from Bach. Except this was no ordinary violinist and it was no ordinary violin. This was an incognito Joshua Bell, one of the greatest musicians in the world, who nights earlier had played to a sold-out concert hall in Boston for nearly $100 a ticket. As Joshua played his $3.50 million violin in the midst of the morning commuter rush, approximately 2,000 people passed through the station, most of them on their way to work. He played continuously for 45 minutes. Only 6 people stopped to listen briefly. No crowd formed. About 20 folks gave money but continued onward at a brisk pace. When he finished, there was silence except for the rhythmic hustle of a busy train station. No aplausos. No crowd. No recognition. This experiment, conducted by the Washington Post, uncovers something incredibly powerful and disturbing. Not even the greatest musician in the world can illuminate the blinding depths of the rat race and those entrenched by its indifference. Have you become so numbed by making a living that the living has been sucked out of your life? Are you so blinded by Monday through Friday that any beauty that sings before you is muted? The train commuters come and go like zombies. They're oblivious to the splendor of Monday through Friday. Yet, what if this experiment occurred on Saturday? Would its outcome be any different? This story exposes the Slowlane for its contempt. When you trade your life mindlessly for a paycheck, you risk being blinded to life itself as you cursively walk by it in a busy train station. Life does not begin on Friday night and end Monday morning. Thank God it's Friday, born and bred in the Slowlane. A friend recently berated me because I declined to go out on a Saturday night. Are you crazy? It's Saturday night, he wailed. I told him something a Slowlaner doesn't understand. For me, every day is a Saturday because I haven't sold off Monday through Friday. Wealth's provenance evolves from the 3 F's: family, fitness, and freedom. Freedom's value to wealth is evidenced on Friday evenings, which just so happened to be the setting for an epic conversation I had with my friend at a happy hour. While we sat on the bar's patio, we heard a chattering cacophony of patrons engaged in spirited conversation. The bar was happening, and within the rustling soundtrack, you'd never guess a recession was ongoing. Over the noise, I asked my friend, "What do you hear?" "I hear people having a great time, a celebration," she said. I asked further, "Why?" "Why what?" "It's Friday," she declared. I probed further. "What's so special about Friday?" If we came here on Monday, this place would be empty and the sound of celebration would be absent. What makes Friday so special as opposed to Monday or Wednesday? Knowing that she was trapped into one of my paradoxical interrogations, she humored me. Ugh, people get paid on Friday? I levied the verdict. Friday evening is glorified because people celebrate the dividends of their trade, 5 days of work bondage exchanged for 2 days of unadulterated freedom. Saturday and Sunday is the payment for Monday through Friday, and Friday evening symbolizes the emergence of that payment, freedom for 2 days. The prostitution of Monday through Friday is the reason, thank God it's Friday, exists. On Friday, people are paid freedom in the currency of Saturday and Sunday. -60%, the dismal return of the Slowlane. The ultimate insanity is to sell your soul Monday through Friday for the paycheck of Saturday and Sunday. Yes, give me $5 today and in return I'll give you $2 back tomorrow. 542. No? How about 5 loaves of bread today and in return, I'll give you 2 back tomorrow? No again? Why? This is a smoking deal. Hopefully you recognize that 5 of anything in exchange for 2 is a bad return. The 542 return on investment is a -60%. If you make consistent -60% return on investments, you'd go bankrupt quick. What logical person would accept such a horrific deal? Most likely you already do. When you accept the Slowlane roadmap as your strategy, you accept 542. You give 5 days of work servitude in exchange for 2 days of weekend freedom. Yes, Monday through Friday is prostituted for Saturday and Sunday. While people easily recognize and reject a -60% return on their money, they do it willingly with their time. If you have children, you have to question this normality. Kids grow on Mondays and Tuesdays. I've heard they grow on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays too. Yes, they don't wait for the weekend to grow up. When little Miranda speaks her first word, walks her first walk, dances the first dance, she doesn't care if you're in Houston for the quarterly managers meeting. Kids and relationships don't wait for the weekend to grow, and while you're out trading 542, guess what? The kids get older and so do you. People who are bankrupt with time see their freedom, their families, and their relationships disintegrate. Time is mismanaged because the Slowlane is predicated on time. 5 days of servitude for 2 days of freedom is not a good trade unless you trade time into a system that can give you a better return on your time. Instead of 542 for life, how about a 542 trade that has the potential to blossom into a better ratio? Like 142 or 3410? Would you make a 542 trade knowing that it could transform into a 1410? Would that be a something to invest in? While I worked my plan, I gave 740, I worked 7 days and didn't take a day off because I knew the roads on my roadmap converged with dreams. I worked for a better ratio in the near future, not in 40 years. I controlled my destiny and eventually my time trade investment yielded a dividend of 40 years. Now I do 047. I work 0 days and get 7 days of freedom. Sadly, if you are entrenched in the Slowlane, your options to shatter this -60% return for your freedom is restricted. Remember, wealth is defined by freedom, and if you require proof, look no further than Friday night when people celebrate freedom as the Slowlane dictatorship takes a weekend furlough. Normal is condemnation to mediocrity. Revolutionary Road, the 2008 movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, does an excellent job portraying the Slowlane's death grip. A young couple find themselves living in suburbia, going through the motions of life. The husband, DiCaprio, goes to work every morning and immerses himself in a crowd of his peers while his wife, Winslet, fills the role of the good housewife. Both instinctively know that something is wrong. They're settling. They've accepted normal. They've forsaken their dreams for the insane plan of everyone. Throughout the movie we witness their attempts to escape and with perilous consequences. The problem is, we've been brainwashed to accept the Slowlane roadmap as normal. The defective roadmap gains traction early in life and is sanctified as the commoner's only probable means to wealth. Sounds logical, right? Folks like us just don't get rich playing pro ball, rapping, singing, acting, or entertaining, so we're left with the Slowlane. And for some, that just might be okay. But for the rest of us with big dreams, big goals, and big ideas, it just doesn't cut the mustard. Here's a Slowlane story pulled from the pages of the FastLane forum, thefastlaneforum.com. In the quest for becoming wealthy, my life has become quite uncomfortable. It all started 5 years ago when I had nothing. I had turned 30 years old and I thought that living paycheck to paycheck was no way to live at all. I made a vow to myself that I would become wealthy. In order to do this, I took on a second job and saved all of the money from that job while I used the money from the first job to pay for my living expenses. Basically, the last 5 years of my life have been as such in order for me to save money. Living and paying relatively cheap rent for an 8 by 13 foot room. Using public transportation and a motorcycle for transportation. Working almost every day with no days off during the week. Rarely eating out. Never buying toys or nice things for myself or wife. Almost never going out and having a good time. With the second job and my economical lifestyle, I have managed to save about $50,000 in 5 years. It would have been more, but I lost a good $30,000 when I invested right before the Dow hit its peak in October of 2007. I've reached a breaking point. 5 years is a long time to live in a room no bigger than a jail cell. The jobs are mind-numbing. I feel like my life is a prison. I have a good lifestyle for saving money, but at the expense of my mental sanity and happiness as a human being. I just feel like I can't live like this any longer. The Slowlaner accepts an existence of frugality and sacrifice to a tipping point where life feels like incarceration. Does this guy's life seem awesome or mediocre? Will it merge with a dream? The Slowlane plan forsakes the now for a faint promise of a wealthy future. I don't consider to settle for less good strategy, which is why the Slowlane is predisposed to mediocrity. Life isn't great, but it isn't so bad either. No. It could be better, but you've got to swap the Slowlane for a new plan. Chapter Summary, FastLane Distinctions. The Slowlane is a natural course correction from the sidewalk, evolving from taking responsibility and accountability. Wealth is best experienced when you're young, vibrant, and able, not in the twilight of your life. The Slowlane is a plan that takes decades to succeed, often requiring masterful political prowess in a corporate environment.